who are you going to follow into battle more? Someone who says, I've been in 17 battles before, here's my experience, or someone who is just sharing, like, here's my take on battle strategy?
Marketing is about values.
Nike didn't call me and sell me this in a catalog. I bought this swoosh because it's ingrained in my soul.
When you have a product that really resonates with customers, the word of mouth grows like wildfire.
Welcome to the Marketing Max Show. Now, let's dive in.
All right. We're back.
All right. And we are back. Welcome back to the Marketing Max Show. You got Logan and Max here. Max, this is a new hat. I like that one. What is that one, by the way? You always got new hats, man.
This one's from Hawaii. I went to Hawaii on the way back from Japan from my honeymoon a little over a year ago. And I got this cool little rainbow Hawaii hat, which is a good note because if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Music or Apple Podcasts,
yes,
there's a video version of this. If you want to see our hands move and our lips move, it's not AI generated yet, but check us out on YouTube, Marketing Max on YouTube.
Absolutely. And that brings us to our 5-second bet that if you have been watching or listening to the show, either one, you've probably heard this, but if you're new to the show, we want to make a bet with you that you are going to get value out of this episode. So hit follow or subscribe, whatever platform you're on, in the next 5 seconds. And if by the end of this episode, you don't have a great takeaway, you haven't gotten something valuable from something Max or myself has said, hit him up at Marketing Max on X or hit me up on LinkedIn, Logan Lyles, and let us know how bad the episode sucked. And then you can unsubscribe and unfollow. So we'll count it down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. We very much hope that you put your money there. Putting bets on the stock market right now. Who knows where things are going, but this is a pretty safe bet. So with that, let's get into today's conversation, man. I am not only your co-host here on the show, I'm a regular reader of your freaking newsletters, both Growth Daily and Growth Hacks Weekly. I get a ton of value from, and I wanted to unpack something from one of your recent newsletters that was basically how to build a personal brand on social media. I think this will especially apply to either X or LinkedIn, but in a way that doesn't lead to a lot of vanity metrics, a lot of chasing the wrong things, that actually leads to what we're all trying to do as either entrepreneurs, CEOs, or marketers, and that's drive leads and increase revenue for the business. And this one is all about the Pesto method for your approach to either X or LinkedIn. Has some pillars to the way you approach content, and really the secret sauce is in the DMs. Give us kind of a high level overview, like why you wanted to unpack this in the newsletter, and then we'll break it down for listeners today, Max.
Yeah, well, if you're new to the show, you don't know this, but I love Twitter. I love X. It's my favorite place to spend time on the internet, predominantly in what has been called money Twitter, but it's really just like the business side of Twitter. There's a whole community of people who want more engagement and who want a little bit more authentic content than is posted on LinkedIn. And so for me, I'm always on Twitter. I'm always looking for growth hacks to share. And I'm always looking for hacks and tips because everyone shares tips and tricks, as you know, myself included. And I came across this one thread from this guy named Marcos, who runs a ghostwriting agency, who said that he booked his client, I think it was 588. Was that the exact number that I wrote in the email? Yeah, 588 calls with potential customers or clients in 1 month, in 30 days. So, that is more than 100 a day. They have a full sales team, which is amazing. We have like 5 full-time salespeople on staff to book these calls or to take these calls and close these customers. But I DM'd him and I said, hey, if you could give me a breakdown of exactly how you did that, more than whatever your thread said, like really detailed and
a little deeper
sauce behind it, I can share it with my audience. And put a link to your Twitter, put a link to your website. He didn't pay me to promote it there or here, but I was like totally blown away by it. And he really said it comes down to 2 things, right? He has this acronym called the Presto acronym for how to create good content. But he says, on the first hand, you got to have content that is both trending and knowledgeable. And then you have to have a DM motion or a DM action strategy in place.
Yeah.
So on the front side of things, he says most people, they only share either trending topics. So like they only talk about AI and here's a cool tool or here's a cool prompt you can use, or they share really boring expertise. And he says, in order to create really good content that has a chance to go viral and attract your target audience, you need to find the combo of those two, right? You need to find the combo of something that is trending, something that people really want to know about today that's new and fresh, but also establish yourself as the expert in that. And that is the type of content that attracts your target audience. And then what a lot of people do is they'll create the content and then they'll put either on Twitter or on Instagram, like click my link in bio to book a call, or if you want more information, retweet, or you see it now on LinkedIn, like if you want more information, reshare this post and comment scripts, and I'll send you 10 DM scripts that help me do this or whatever. And he said the real brilliance of the strategy that they used, that he uses for all of his clients apparently, and how they were able to book 588 calls, which by the way, I did ask him for proof. I said, can you please, like you could block out all the names, but I was like, you know, is this just clickbait or not? And I did ask him for proof. I'm a journalist in some way, shape, or form, so I had to get proof for this. But you know, the other thing you have to do is you have to have a team at scale. But to start, you can have one person, but you have to have a team of DM setters. And it's not people who can respond to when someone types comment or when someone writes like scripts, like in the example I gave, when someone
and just drop the link, right? Because I mean, you can use tools for that, like ManyChat on Instagram lets you do that. If someone's like ebook, right, in the comments, automatically send them the link. That's not what we're talking about, because I think the secret sauce here is nothing too mind-blowing, but it's different from what most people do in the DMs, right?
Correct. So what most people do is they'll use a tool like ManyChat, or they'll have a VA or appointment setter just simply send them the lead magnet that they commented scripts to get. And then they'll ask them some questions like, hey, are you interested in XYZ, right? What he does that's different is he has a team of VAs that go to every single person that likes the content and every single new follower. And he messages those people. Hey, thanks for the follow. And then he asks a very, very, very nonchalant question where he'll have that DM setter go to their bio and he'll see that their company is called, you know, marketingmax.com or whatever. And it'll be like, so how's marketingmax.com going? How's Marketing Max going? Or whatever, right? And that opens up a casual conversation because most people are going to complain. That's what he told me. I don't know if that nugget worked its way 100% into the newsletter, but he told me like most people are going to complain. So they'll be like, oh, it's going good, but I'm struggling with XYZ. They'll tell you if you kind of just open the door, open the platform for them to just kind of share what's going on.
Ask some sort of open-ended question, like what's your focus right now, or what are you working on? I like to ask, like, I think that was one of the ones you dropped in the newsletter, like, what are you working on right now? I like to say like this week or this quarter, because sometimes then people will say like, oh, this is my rock, or this is my what's one of the other goal setting, you know, everybody's got quarterly goals and metrics, right? What is their quarterly KPI that they're being held to? Right. That's a way to actually get that information out of people versus the old sales tactic of like, Max, what keeps you up at night? You're like, my baby girl, like you don't have the, you know, the credibility to ask me that question right now and just share all about my business. But when you ask kind of a specific open-ended question that's kind of time bound, then people just start flowing. That's interesting. Yeah. That's a new nugget from the newsletter to now on people start, you know, quote unquote complaining, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think to take it a step further, you know, so much of marketing these days, especially because of Alex Hormozi's $100 million offer book, right? So much of that book preaches sending a cold email, sending a cold DM, or even putting in the tweet or the LinkedIn post like we're talking about here, you know, I've helped 700 companies achieve XYZ results. I can help you do the same or your money back. Comment below, right? And it's like, it's a little gross. It's a little like, okay, I get it. That's cool. It's a little on the nose, and it works for certain industries exceptionally well. It works for other industries not so well, but still works. But I really love the strategy of putting out content that is both at the intersection of trending and expertise,
Mhm.
right? Using that as a way to get new followers, but then instead of having them say comment XYZ to get XYZ, right? Comment script to get my list of 10 DM scripts, you just attract content or you post content for the sake of posting content, aka attracting your target audience and building affinity with them,
Mhm.
right? And helping people with your free content. And then you have the setter, the DM appointment person, whatever it is, reach out and say, hey, thanks for the follow. Give them the platform to open up and say, hey,
Mhm.
here is what I'm struggling on. Or to your point, like, what are you working on this week? Starting a genuine conversation will lead to much more business than, hey, we could help you get 5,000 new followers on your LinkedIn account in the next 90 days or your money back. Like,
Yep.
that works for a certain type of person, but the money back guarantees attract the wrong type of buyers for most businesses. They attract the business owners or the entrepreneurs who are super risk averse and who are not willing to put in the time or energy or money to make your service or whatever it is that you're doing significantly better.
Yeah, that point is very true. It's also that when you get a new connection, especially on LinkedIn, that is what people expect, is that pitch slap, right? It's like, I got a new connection. I don't really know this person. Let's see, I'll connect and we'll see. And then it is, hey, we could help you with this. And even if it has all the right social proof, even if it has, right, it's just like this ad that you didn't ask for in your DMs. And so it's kind of like, as I've heard Neil Patel, or maybe it was Noah Kagan, one of those great marketing guys, say, you got to zig when everyone else zags. So if everybody else is pitching and trying to get better at their pitch and making their pitch, more guaranteed and more social proof to it and all that in the DMs, that's okay. Let them do that, right? Go do something else in the DMs. So I think that's smart. I think the thing you were talking about, the blending of trending and expertise, there's a lot to be gained from, latching on to trending topics. And this has taken me a while in my own marketing career of like starting to think about like what's going on, not only just in marketing and, with AI is obviously huge right now, but like what's going on in the world that I can kind of latch onto. Okay, the Super Bowl, or, it's Christmas time or whatever. I just like kept doing the same thing throughout the year. And I'm like, I'm missing out on the opportunity of kind of catching that wave, which YouTubers really understand, right? They know how to, there's this one Christian content creator who does a lot on his channel that is pretty much reacting to Joe Rogan. Who's had Joe Rogan on, what kind of deep issues did they end up talking about? And that's a lot of his content strategy. You can do something similar on LinkedIn, but what you have to do is you have to bring that expertise, and you can't just say, well, you should do this. Like the posts that blow up, especially on LinkedIn. And again, you bring a lot more years of experience on Twitter/X. LinkedIn has been more my game. Tell me if this is the same on the other side, is the posts that have actual numbers, like the one we're talking about today, 588 calls booked, right? You probably wouldn't have even found this post had it just been like, check out this method, right? Because it actually had expertise, that because the guy had the receipts. By the way, shout out to Marcos. His handle on X is it's Marcos Ruiz, RUIZ, if you want to check him out. Give him a shout out for giving us the thing to talk about today. One thing I wanted to circle back to, the pillars, he called it pesto, Pesto. I love me some pesto, especially on pizza. And they stand for the different types, right? The different types of content that you want to be putting out: personal, expertise, social proof, trending, and then opinions. And so obviously we've touched on expertise and trending, but those other three kind of completely round it out, I think. And there's overlap between those. I'm sure you've seen in your own growth on Twitter, right? That those, what is that? That's 5, right? Those 5 have helped you create kind of this well-rounded content from your profile. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's 40 million things that goes into creating good content, no matter the platform, no matter the content, no matter the API, right? I really like pesto. To one of your points earlier, if we just said, if the subject line of the newsletter that I sent out to 117,000 of my followers or newsletter subscribers on Sunday was how to use the Pesto principle to generate leads, it wouldn't have gotten nearly as many open, and not nearly as many people would have read it as if it said what it did, which is 588 booked sales calls in 30 days. Right? People love numbers, they love proof, they love background. I had a bunch of people responding to the email saying, hey, like, do you think this strategy is better than the S2? Do you think this strategy works? And it's never better. It's like, what's better for you? Utilize your current budget, your current time, and where your audience is, right? If your audience isn't on X, then is your current audience on LinkedIn big time? Do they spend a lot of time on LinkedIn? Not just on LinkedIn, because everyone's on LinkedIn, but do they spend a lot of time there? If so, maybe this strategy, to your point earlier, applied to LinkedIn makes a whole lot of sense. But with LinkedIn, you're limited to a certain amount of DMs and messages that you can send at any given time. So there's certain thresholds to each platform and certain like barriers, or not barriers, but certain like roofs, like the ceiling is low on certain platforms compared to others. But yeah, the Pesto principle that he gave makes so much sense, but I like watering it down even more, like filtering it down even more to just like what's trending. Right. The first one was personalized, right? Like, was personalized, right? Personal. So like personal. So like what's trending, and then what's your personal take or personal story or personal experience with that? Similar to what I said before about expertise. Like what's the experience you've had with that trending topic? What's your take on it? Finding the trends between those, or kind of the intersection between those, is everything for me in my career. Growing, more than 200,000 followers across all platforms. To many people, that's nothing. So I'm a nobody. But I have gotten my fair share of multi-million view posts on TikTok and on Instagram and on Twitter and even on LinkedIn. So it's that personalization that like right? And so one of my friends actually runs an entire business where he coaches YouTube creators on their title. He charges them like $500 a month, and he writes the titles for you. And his biggest tip to me always is I. Like,
interesting.
How I achieved XYZ, how I achieved, how I was able to do this, my experience with this. And then
if I was starting over on YouTube today, like those sorts of videos, I've clicked on those.
And then he said you can combine them with you. So like, how you can take advantage of my strategy, how you can take advantage of what I did, how you can tap into the magic, or how you can tap into the strategy that I invented, but it's all I. You don't need to have a groundbreaking hot take on something. You don't need to say like AI is useless, right? Like you don't need to have that. You just need to have your own perspective and start sharing it. Right. Your own perspective, your own story, your own example of whatever is trending, of whatever is going on today.
A great example of this, just to give people kind of something real world and tangible. My buddy, Dan Sanchez, I don't know if I've mentioned him on the show before. He decided like a year ago, like I'm going all in on testing and talking about AI because he saw that major trend coming. And he hosts a podcast called The AI Driven Marketer. And his post today on LinkedIn was like, I'm canceling Midjourney because this new AI image tool is better. And he posted like examples of the output. It wasn't this like, oh, Midjourney sucks. And like, here's where, image creation, AI image creation is going. It's like, hey, I tested this and here's what I'm doing now. And I shared that internally at our agency on our Slack channel. And I had 2 people be like, oh, wow, this is interesting. Right? It wasn't a super long post. It wasn't like this detailed analysis of the market and all this. It was like, I tried this and this is what I'm doing now. And I think that's a great example of exactly what you're talking about. And I think that I and you is really important, especially if you're doing video content like YouTube. So
100%. The last thing I'll say, I think the last thing I'll say before we hop, because I know we both have stuff to do, is the analogy that I've heard people use before about why I is so powerful in creating content is leading a warrior into battle, right? Who are you going to follow into battle more? Someone who says, I've been in 17 battles before, here's my experience, or someone who is just sharing like, here's my take on battle strategy, right? I And I think
Mhm.
everyone else are much more likely to follow into battle the person who's told me stories, even if they're not like huge successes, like they have experience doing this,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Versus someone who says, here is how to win a battle.
Yeah.
Here is how to win, in trench warfare. Here is how to win whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Might be the greatest strategy ever, but you're not
Correct.
going to believe that. And as much as, you were talking about where Hormozi's advice, I think, gets some people in trouble. One thing I do like from him recently, he shared this, and it was about personal social media content. He's like, there's a difference between a post that says you should eat oatmeal every morning and, hey, I tried eating oatmeal for 30 days and here's what happened. Maybe it'll work for you too. Right. And so that same flip, now we're talking about oatmeal instead of going to battle. Maybe your analogy was way better than mine, which is why you've got 200,000 followers and I've only got 20. I'm a 10th of the way there, dude. But I think those are all good examples for listeners to take back, think about this pesto method. And if you want more tips like this, make sure you stay subscribed, stay following the show, and go to growthdaily.com and make sure you're getting these great newsletters from Max as well. Man, this has been great, quicker episode, but I think we packed a punch with this one. Anything you want to say before we round it out today, Max?
Go ahead and click that subscribe button. As always, any questions about marketing, big or small, anything I can ever do to help you, just send me a DM on Twitter.
Love it, man. All right. We'll see you next week, folks.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Max show. It takes me and my team hours to produce it every single week, but it only takes you 15 seconds to hit that share button and text it to a friend, drop it in a Slack group, or share it on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or any of your favorite social platforms. I appreciate you taking the time to check out my content. Have an awesome day.